Alright, so let's create a task model and migration. We'll need it. So I'll create controller separately. We will need factory, migration factory. Yeah, that's it. So this will create migration and factory. So once that is done, I'll create controller. So make controller. So I'll create it inside API folder. That's why I try to create it separately. So tasks controller, which will be the resourceful controller. So we have scaffolded everything we need to create our resource task. So first thing first, let's go start by migration. So task table. So create task table is the migration that we just created. So first thing we'll be needing is string, which will be the name of the task. Name, or we can call it title. Let's call it title. So task title, and second will be text, which will contain description of the task, and another one we will need datetime, which will, let's call it due date. Let's call it due. And another field we'll need is user ID. So unsigned big integer user ID. So it's important to call it unsigned big integer because we are creating, so Laravel will by default create the ID with big increments. So we need to create unsigned big integer because this ID will be referencing the ID in users table. So if you go to users table, yeah, this is big increment ID, so we'll be referencing that. So if you don't use like this, it will throw error when we are trying to define the foreign key constraint. So we'll define foreign key as well. So foreign key, so foreign, this column is foreign, and this references. So this references ID on users table. So on delete of user, we will cascade. So if there is no user, there is no point of keeping the task of the user. Yeah, you can do like this, or if you don't want to implement that functionality, if you want to keep the task of user after user is gone, yeah, it's your choice, but I'll do it like this. So once that is done, our schema for task is all set. We can go ahead and migrate it. So PHP artisan migrate, there we go. So once that is done, let's go to task controller and let's create a CRUD. So we'll return a task. So we can do task all to get all tasks. So let's open up Postman, duplicate this tab, and API, I want this endpoint to show us all the tasks. Get API tasks. So this endpoint is currently not defined, so let's go ahead and define it inside our api.php, and I will call it route API resource. So this will create, yeah, so API resource will only define all routes except this create. So in API we don't need to show any create form, that's why we don't need that. Similarly, we don't need to show the edit form, that's why we don't need route associated with that. So API resource will just create index, store, show, update, and delete. So let's define some tasks inside our task factory so that we have some data to play with. Yeah, that's it for now. Let's put in these two fields. Yeah, we'll be needing user ID as well. So user ID, let's put in 1 for, so this will generate fake data. So by the way, in our schema we have created, so there is option that if you want to make this description, so I think this will be, we can allow that nullable, so that it is optional, so that it won't show any error if user do not provide description. Also we'll make this also nullable, because due date also not required, so only title is required and this user ID is required. That's it. So now that we have made these changes, we need to make PHP artisan migrate fresh. It's fresh. Yeah, let's make it fresh. Okay. So after doing this fresh, it will just drop all the tables and create new. And if you see, we have no auth clients. Alright, so now register and login route won't work because we don't have any clients to issue those tokens. So it will throw us error, client access client not found, please create one. So after running that, we always need to run PHP artisan passport install. There we go. So now we will have our user. Alright, another user, web tab, and let's call it web tabmatics. There we go. So now let's generate some route, PHP artisan tinker, and I will create using factory. So app task class will create 5. Alright, so this created all data required. So now let's send request to the tasks, and we should get all of our tasks like so. Okay. Alright, so but this is not the right way. We will use task resources. So in Laravel 5.5 we got access to, so there is new feature called API resources, so we'll generate that. Make resource, we'll call it task resource. There we go. So we created task resource like so. So this task resource will just is the way to make our data more consistent. And now we will use that task resource collection, and then we'll return task get, or let's only return tasks related to currently logged in user, auth user, tasks, and we'll sort it by latest one. So we'll show latest first and then get all the route. Or what we can do is we can also paginate only 4 results for now. So auth user, tasks, latest, but we do not have this relationship defined, so let's do it now. App user return this has many task class. That's it. Similarly in task we'll define that. I'll call it creator. So creator will be the return this belongs to user class, and if you use name other than user, you need to define which foreign key is referencing which. So in task table, user ID is referencing ID. So also we need to define protected fillable. So fillable are name. I'll just use guarded. For now, let's make everything fillable. Let's only guard user ID. So user ID shouldn't be fillable. Other thing fillable. Yeah, that's right. So API task will only. So currently we are not logged in. So this route should be protected. We'll make the middleware Auth API. So now only authenticated user can visit this task related route. So if we try to visit, we got unauthenticated. So first we need to log in. So log in. Yeah, so we are after logging in, we get this credential. But since we made our new user, we need to again log in because we just reset our database. So first user, we should log in with this one. Let's try to log in with that email. Yeah, secret. That's right. So we got access token, and then now we'll use this access token to make another request. So without this access token, we cannot visit this one. And inside headers, we have to pass that in authorization header. Bearer, and then pass, that access token. Now if we try to access that, we should get the task related to this user. There we go. Also what you can see is we got all links, meta tag and all other thing. Alright. And also we'll load the task. So we'll load the creator. We'll eager load that. So that we got creator of task as well. So since we use task resources, we have freedom to alter the structure of this data, which we are seeing it here. That's why we use that. Okay, so our showing part is done. Now let's tackle this create part. So we'll also validate this data. So while creating, title is required, and this will be maximum of 255 characters. Okay, after validating, we will get the authenticated user, and then we'll call in tasks, and then we'll create using request all. So this will give us task, currently created task, which will be sending new task resource and task, like so. Okay, so this is the store method. Also we want to load the creator on task, so that our data structure is uniform all over the place. So whenever you do this kind of stuff like create all, make sure we have task in this model we have defined fillable, not this guarded. So before I've done guarded, so we need to do fillable, so that if there is any other field, it will not throw any error. Due. Yeah, I think that's the table task table. Yeah, title, description and due, these three fields should be fillable. All right. Okay, so our create part is also in place, so let's quickly test it. So this time we should send the post request to same endpoint, and we should provide the body. Let's remove everything. We should provide task title, user created title, and description, some description, and let's send this request. Yeah, you know what, I just missed that. Required, just typo there, sorry about that. Required, this should be max, always forget that. Okay, so data is created, our create part is also done. So this show part is simple, we can just copy this and paste it here. Yeah, this will return, actually this show ID. Yeah, we can just do like this, task. Okay, we can just inject it like so. So our show part is also in place, we can check that by sending, so ID of the data is 6, we just created this one, and we should send the get request to that endpoint to see if we are getting correct data. There we go. So is also done. Update part is also similar to the store. So first we need to validate if we are getting this title or not, and then we can simply update task update request all, and then we can return the task like we do here. Okay, so our delete part is also quite simple, we can do task delete, and then we'll return the response saying that it is deleted. Yeah, that's it. So now quickly test all these. So get part is done, let's update it by sending the put request, and let's update this title to updated user created title, and see if it's given data title field is required. So one thing about this put request is we cannot do using this form data, because form do not recognize that put request. So for that we need to use this raw, and we can do like this JSON. So title equals to updated title. Okay, so since it is JSON, we need double this like this, and now let's send. Yeah, so this time we got this updated title, and everything else will be same. And similarly we can delete this by just sending the delete request and then delete it. Yeah, delete it. So now if we try to get this one, we shouldn't get it. Yeah, no query result, and that task should be gone. Alright, so at this point our CRUD operation is done. So one thing I want to add is related to date time. So at this point, if we try to insert the due date time, so we need to provide a certain format, otherwise it won't work. So what I will do here is I'll check if we got, so if request has due, so if it has due date, what we'll do is we'll parse it. So instead of request all, we can just do input, and we can define input like so, request all. And so if it has due, then what we'll do is input due, and we can then parse that due. So carbon parse request due. Yeah, so that will allow us, that will give us quite flexibility of defining date in our front end. So input due. Yeah, that's it. So same thing we update for this update one. There we go, and replace the request all with input. So now let's give it a final run. So we will test it by sending the post request with our form data. So title will be task with due, urgent task. So this time we'll pass in the due date. So due date, so what we can do is we can do next Sunday, and then it will already give us the next Sunday. So one thing here, I just forgot one thing, carbon parse, and then parse it to date time string. So date time string, we need to parse it to that. Okay, just copy it, copy whole line, and then replace it here. So now let's try send it. Looks like okay. Same mistake, we forgot to import the carbon class. Control Alt I will import that, and then send request again. Yeah, so task with due, so due date is already defined it like so. So we have flexibility, like we can use whatever we want. Yeah, April 2nd, task due in April, like so, April 2nd. Okay, so at this point we have our task API in place. Now we can consume this API from our front end.